This is now Thursday. Okay, let's see what Paul's really rolling. Here's the 3rd chapter. Now I'll just read it, if you don't mind me reflecting this way. Okay. Brothers and sisters, let no one deceive himself. If anyone among you considers himself wise in this age, let him become a fool, so as to become wise. What was the movie? A man must know his limitations. It's a gangster movie, but I can't remember what it was. He must know his limitations. Well, that's the beginning of wisdom, is to recognize the limitations of your knowledge and your wisdom. I forgot what it was. Man's got to know his limitations. If anyone among you consider himself wise in this age, let him become a fool so as to become wise. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness in the eyes of God. For it is written, God catches the wise in their own ruses. And again, the Lord knows the thoughts of the wise, that they're vain. That's a use of the word wise. It's a false wisdom. A wisdom that doesn't recognize its limitations is not a wisdom. It's a form of massive foolishness. Even the Greeks would have told you that. See? Wisdom sees and knows the real. And what is real is Christ. Hence, without knowing Christ, you cannot be completely wise, because what you are lacking is the wisdom of God. And God is mighty real, you see. And in that sense, the secular mind is extremely limited. Right? And when I think of the 20th century and some of the leaders of the 19th and 20th centuries, very, very smart guys, but were they that smart? How come the wisdom of the West led to 2 catastrophic wars? Apart from the genocide, just the fact we had 2 world wars. 80 million people were killed. Where's the wisdom there? Is that wisdom? Political wisdom? The growth of the secular state and the modern state, which I'm strongly in favor of. But is that a wisdom? Look where it's led. In so many instances. Not knocking the political order at all, I'm sharing it. And I teach, in a school, I teach philosophy with the hope that we will produce leaders in the political social order, in science, and all the disciplines of humanity, that we will foster a truly humanistic civilization. That's what I'm in business for. But I also realize so profoundly that the human genius is in a sense too finite and too limited. We require the wisdom of God, the Spirit of God, to ultimately understand the most fundamental of all conundrums, death and evil. Unless you can come to grips with the death and evil, you can't be wise. You can't be wise. And you see it, I think, in the crucified Christ, the wisdom of the cross. I mean that. There'll be a lot of dispute on what I just said. Maybe so. But I think in the end, even Plato had to have immortality in order to have justice. Hey, even he knew there is no justice here. Now, that was 350 years before the time of Christ. He saw that we had to have immortality for justice, so that we could be wise in knowing finally what is true, good, and beautiful, what is truly just. Christianity translates that into the crucified Christ. If you want to know what is the ultimate good, it is the incarnation of God on the cross, as he transforms death into redemptive life. It's a tremendous act of faith one has to have to believe that. But it produces a wisdom. It produces the difference between tragedy and martyrdom. One ceases to look at life as tragic and absurd. The existentialists of the early 20th century after the First World War, between the first and the second. See? It's not a tragedy. It's not an absurdity. It's a drama. It's a great adventure of freedom and failure, redemption and life, with an ultimate right order of things. In the end, a final justice, a final goodness, when good triumphs over evil, life over death, hope over despair, wisdom over foolishness, as we embrace and are embraced by Christ in paradise. And we're embraced by each other, the glorified church. And who is the glorified church? Your friends, your family, your loved ones. I love that. I'm going to do it again. I don't care. If I bore you, I'm sorry. But I love what my Aunt Arjana said to me. Ci vediamo in paradiso. We will see each other again in paradise. What a profound hope rooted in the faith. Think of it that way. Ci vediamo in paradiso, where all things are made right, and life triumphs over death, wisdom over foolishness. Isn't that neat? Goodness over evil. Where there no longer any tears or sorrow, no longer any darkness, only the light of the divine wisdom of which we are engaged and present. When we can recognize in our own suffering our share in the suffering of Christ, who we are, why we are, where we are, together. I have to say that my aunt's simple faith is replete with wisdom. Ci vediamo in paradiso. We will see each other again in paradise. I am still moved by a passing final remark from my aunt 50 years ago, 1973. 50 years ago, ci vediamo. We will see each other again. You could feel the hope in that, in paradiso, but now in paradise. Not when I'll see you again in a couple of months. Ci vediamo in paradiso, in paradise, where we will walk and play and dance together. And for Plato and Socrates, where we can engage in really good arguments, rational arguments. We can get together and do philosophy. Okay? That's what he thought of paradise as, doing philosophy, unhindered, unencumbered. See? It's neat, isn't it? It's a profound hope we have. See? Yeah. And it gives us a wisdom. It gives us a wisdom because it gives us a belief and hope that in human finitude, in our human flesh, in our frailty, both moral and physical, and in being human, we are also being called into the divine. As we are mortal, we are also immortal. As we suffer, we shall also be magnified in glory. Boy, it's a profound hope. But it can only be rooted in faith. And it has to be a faith that is not based on some idea, but on a person. And that is the great paschal mystery of Christ, crucified, died, and risen, in whom we share, and whom we will be together again with in paradise, all together. Our wounds glorified as Christ's wounds are glorified. Yes, together.